Okay, everyone. This notebook is from my daughter's first grade year when we first started homeschooling. This was in 2005 and 2006. This is the cover of our 3-ring binder notebook. I'm going to show it to you and see how the notebook method works. So we open up the notebook and you can see that we have different tabs for the different subjects. We have Bible, literature, history, English, math, and reading. Then we have on the front our weekly schedule. We start off at 8:50 with breakfast. At 9:30, we'll start our Bible reading, our Bible and reading lesson. Then from 10:15 to 11:15, we do math. I had 2 children at this time, so I was teaching them at the same time because my daughter was a little more advanced and because they were about on the same level. Then from 11:15 to 12:30, I did spelling and English. Then we had lunch and chores at 12:30. We went for a walk and did supplementary reading at 3:30. On Thursday, we taught specific comprehension skills. And then on Friday, we did reading tests, spelling tests, writing tests, math games, and more reading. So that was our schedule for that year. Then we have a family constitution. This is a really important part of the notebook method. And you could see that we, the family of Arrows Academy Homeschool, in order to form a more perfect homeschool experience, establish just rules, ensure peace, promote the general good of each individual, and secure the blessings of liberty, do establish this constitution for governing ourselves. And teaching self-government was really important. We, the parents of our children, pledge to faithfully exemplify the love of Jesus, diligently teach the truths of the Bible, and consistently uphold the principles of education. And we, the children, pledge to be prepared with a happy and reverent attitude, be diligent to study hard, and be a good steward of my property. So they would sign it, we would sign it, and we would all agree to the terms. Then this is basically just a calendar that I created on the spreadsheet. Then we have our notebook grading sheet that you can use. We didn't necessarily use this, but if the children were creating their own notebook at this stage in their development, they were doing some of the notebook by themselves, but most of it I was doing it for them. So then for the Bible tab or any of the other tabs, let's go with literature tab because that's a little more interesting. I would write out what lessons or topics we're going to cover, what chapters and what books for each quarter and each week. And I put a Bible verse and the overarching principle and purpose of the subject so that I would know what we're teaching. Then after that, we have our first page of notes that we talked about. What is literature exactly? We looked up the definition and we put down why we study literature and the attributes of good literature. Then we had another handout here to describe what makes good literature. And then we had different types of literature that I explained. And I created these worksheets for them. Then we started the notebook method for our first book. And that was the book of Heidi. And all they did was draw their own coloring page. Then I gave them a handout of notes for the author. We talked about the author before we started reading the book. Then I documented on my computer some of the quotes from the book that describe the setting and put the pictures in there. This was for the mountain setting, and the other page is for the city setting. So anytime we came across a quote that described the setting, we would document it here, and the kids would watch me do that. Then for each chapter, we would write down, I would ask them what happened in the chapter, and I would write that down. And we did that for each chapter. And then I printed it up. I also printed a map of Switzerland and some facts about Switzerland because I wanted them to know where it is. We did some map work. The way we teach map work is by doing cat hairs or squiggly lines on the perimeter on the outside that are blue, and then green on the inside, and then brown for mountains. And I guess they used orange for lakes. And this really helps the children see how it's shaped and what its features are. So we did this for each. I found some coloring pages that I had. I found a lullaby that I tried to sing to them. And we just continued with each chapter. And let's see, this had quite a few pages here, quite a few chapters. And so I did most of the writing here. This is where I was learning how to do the notebook method. So then we get to these parts where we do like a T chart of the different characters. So we did the internal characteristics and external characteristics. Every time we read and found one of those, we would write those down. I would write them down. We did grandfather, we did Heidi, internal, external T chart. We did Clara, Peter. We did some themes that we would talk about throughout the book. And then we moved on to a different book. This was a biography. And so we would write some notes on what a biography is. And our next biography was Benjamin West and his cat Grimalkin. So we basically did the same thing here. We did setting, we did characters, we had some color pages. We did a key individual chart. This is kind of interesting, which was a little bit different than the T chart. This talks about the providential preparation, where they were born, what their family was like, the shaping influences, their character, and their contributions. So that was a fun assignment that we discussed. And none of this is in the kids' writing because they were still so young, but we did discuss all of these things. We read a book on Benjamin Franklin and wrote some pictures about his contributions there. And that was it for literature for that year. History, again, we have the overview of what topics we're going to cover for the whole year. And we did some chain of Christianity, arts and crafts. We're missing a few links in here, but anyway, for Paul, that's Paul is one of the links. The Pilgrims is another link in the chain of Christianity. The Declaration of Independence, or American Christian Republic. The Pioneers. And of course, My Little Patriots. And so we just did some other color pages that I had. We talked about the government and the differences between the government in Jamestown and Plymouth, and the good and bad of each. So that was important in our curriculum. Another another key individual chart for Columbus that apparently we didn't finish. And that was that. Then I have a pre-printed overview for English because I wasn't sure exactly how I would teach all of this in a week by week schedule, so I just followed that. We always introduce our subjects by defining the subject in the 1828 dictionary and writing why we study it. Here's some penmanship practice. When we're teaching kids to write, we always start with the strokes. We have the clock stroke and the short lines and the tall lines, and lines that go past the baseline, the slant line, and the cross line. And this was the practice sheet for that. And of course, we kept practicing that. We practiced the phonograms. We did spelling tests. I put all the spelling tests in here. We had a phonogram test also. We have spelling rule pages where I teach them different spelling rules. This is all the ers and the double the consonant, adding a suffix. Phonogram page, the test. These are practice sentences. This is probably copy work, I'm guessing. This is original. So these are just practice paragraphs. This is first grade. My daughter had a really good kindergarten teacher at the school where I was teaching, so she was pretty good at writing. Then we would categorize. We studied orthography. We would categorize our words, spelling words, into different parts of speech. We would also do words and split them up into root word, prefix, suffix, and the origin. Then we had sentence analysis, even in first grade. We would copy the sentence and mark the subject with an S, and the verb with a V, and underline the verb twice and underline the subject once. So I would help them identify what the subject and verb is of that sentence. Then for reading, I had listed a bunch of skills that I wanted to focus on for the year in my overview, similar to the English overview, but this is one I typed in personally from different resources. And I taught them the mental actions for reading comprehension: check, connect, and predict. We use these passages for McCall Crabs and McCall Harvey. This was actually McCall Harvey. And I just kept a few of them to document progress over time. Actually, I kept a lot of them. Then, well, this is pretty advanced. So with these multiple choice passages, I would teach them the difference between literal questions and inferential questions. And so they would not just have to pick the right answer, but find the answer in the text and tell me whether the question was literal or inferential. Oh, and at the bottom of these is a score. And you can see she was about fourth grade level of reading by first grade. That's crazy. Looks like it's hard to believe this was first grade. Then by the end of the year, looks like she got up to fifth grade level. And then sixth grade level, all of those were documented. And that's it for the notebook. Thanks for watching.